And then you have the Kootenai County Jail that has 451 beds. It was running 483 inmates and has peaked at 517. So overcrowded that the sheriff's office had asked local law enforcement to use discretion when making misdemeanor arrests because there is physically no room. There is a law on the books in Idaho, written in the 1970s, that is quietly bankrupting North Idaho cities and counties, and nobody is talking about it. But I'm going to, because people really need to know this. This is actually one of the most important things I've ever talked about on this channel, and I mean that. But first, let's talk about why people actually move here, because you need to understand what's at stake. People don't move to North Idaho for the weather. I mean, some of them do, and those people are insane, but that's a different video. People move here because Idaho still feels like the America they grew up in. Limited government, personal freedom, Second Amendment rights that actually mean something, a place where the government mostly stays out of your way and lets you live your life. That's the pitch, and honestly, for a lot of people, it delivers. Idaho has built a reputation as one of the last true constitutional states in the country. Low income tax, constitutional carry, property rights that are actually respected, the kind of place where people look around and say, yeah, this is what I was looking for. And the numbers back that up. People have been voting with their feet for years, and a massive chunk of them have ended up right here in Kootenai County. And look, that growth has genuinely been good for a lot of people. If you bought a home here 5 or 10 years ago, you've watched your equity grow in ways that probably makes your financial bone tingle, just a little. Small business owners have thrived, the local economy has expanded, new restaurants, new services, new money flowing through communities that used to be pretty dang quiet. For homeowners and entrepreneurs, this wave has been a gift. But there is a problem, a serious one, and it's one that almost nobody is talking about, not in the way it deserves to be talked about at least. Because while all of that growth has been great for homeowners and business owners, it has been absolutely brutal for the cities and counties that have to budget for all of it. And I learned exactly why that is when I sat down with the Kootenai County Commissioner, the Post Falls City Planner, and several top local government officials. I'll be honest with you, I walked into that meeting thinking this was a supply and demand story. Not enough homes, too many people moving in, prices will eventually correct. It's economics 101. I was completely wrong. What I learned in that room completely reframed how I see this market. This isn't a supply and demand problem. It's a structural trap built into Idaho law itself. And once you understand it, you won't be able to look at North Idaho housing the same way again. And real quick, if you're watching this trying to figure out whether you should be buying or selling right now in North Idaho, stick around. I'm going to get to that, but I need you to understand the foundation first because the guidance only makes sense once you see what's actually happening. And hit subscribe if you're finding this useful. I get in rooms like this one so you don't have to. They're not exactly exciting for the average person. And the phone number and email address are below if you want to talk to us directly, or you can scan the QR code and schedule a time to talk with me or my team. Okay, let's get into it. So here is that law. Idaho Code 63-802, under Idaho law, municipalities, your cities and counties, cannot increase their budget from property tax revenue by more than 8% per year. Full stop. Doesn't matter if the population doubled. Doesn't matter if the cost went up 4 times faster than they expected. Doesn't matter if you've got hundreds of people flooding into your county every single month. 8%. That's the ceiling. Boise said it, and Boise's not about to change it. Now here's what makes this wild. This law was written in the 1970s. When it was written, a fully equipped police patrol car cost around $3,500. Adjusted for normal inflation, that should be roughly $20,000 to $25,000 today. You know what a fully equipped patrol vehicle actually costs right now? It's closer to $75,000. The law was built around a world where government costs rose slowly and predictably. That world no longer exists. Reckless government spending, and yeah, I said it, the Pentagon still hasn't passed a single audit, drive costs up way faster than any 1970s formula could have anticipated. They did their best to plan and made laws around it. Unfortunately, their plan is not working so well right now. Because here's what it actually looks like on the ground. Post Falls, one of the fastest growing cities in the entire state of Idaho, just completed a fiscal analysis of their own land use. Their net fiscal position right now is negative $36 million. The city of Post Falls is running at a $36 million deficit. That's not a rumor. That's their own public works data from 2025. And here's the part that genuinely surprised me. It's not because city leadership is being reckless with money, it's because of the math behind what's actually being built. Their own analysis shows that every acre of low-density single-family housing, the stuff everyone wants, generates a net loss of $7,400 per acre to the city. Every acre. Meanwhile, mixed-use development generates $167,000 per acre in net positive revenue. The housing type that locals want is the exact housing type that makes the fiscal hole deeper. Nobody told the residents that. Nobody told the builders that, and yet here we are. Let me give you a real-world example of what this looks like in practice. The city of Hayden has no police department. Zero. They contract with the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office, a contract that was sitting at $1 million a year. The county recently switched to a true cost model, meaning Hayden now has to cover the full actual cost of their deputies. That number jumped from $1.04 million to $1.8 million. Hayden says they can only afford 5 deputies under their current budget. The county is out here absorbing police costs from cities that literally cannot afford to run their own departments. And then you have the Kootenai County Jail that has 451 beds. It was running 483 inmates and has peaked at 517. So overcrowded that the sheriff's office had asked local law enforcement to use discretion when making misdemeanor arrests because there is physically no room. The jail failed its last state inspection for one reason, and that was overcrowding. They're spending $8.9 million right now finishing 2 dormitory pods that have sat as empty concrete shells since 2018. That's 6 years. Empty shells sitting there while the jail runs at 143% capacity. That's not very efficient. So here's where things stand. We have a city running a $36 million deficit, a county absorbing police costs that cities can't cover, a jail that's over capacity, there's longer wait times for emergency services, schools are feeling the strain, and a state budget law that caps how fast any of them can grow their way out of it. Here's the part where you'd expect me to say, well, at least they can build more affordable housing to help locals get into the market, right? Here's why that isn't working either. Think about what a normal American home looked like after World War II. About 800 square feet. The famous Levittown homes built for returning veterans, 750 square feet. Average home price in 1950 was around $7,000 to $8,000. Small, simple, because that's what people could afford. And builders built it to that reality. Today, the average new build in America is over 2,500 square feet, and builders in North Idaho actually want to build smaller, cheaper homes. They see the affordability gap, and they want to fill it. But every new home means another household using county services. More sheriff calls, more fire response, more road wear, more school seats, and the budget to absorb all of that is capped at 8% growth per year, no matter what. So the county is caught between 2 bad options: keep housing expensive and protect what little fiscal room they have, or prove more density and accelerate the deficit. Neither option fixes the underlying problem. Normally I like to keep my videos a little bit lighter than this, but I'm telling you, this is kind of a big problem that we're gonna have to figure out. Now here's the villain in this story, and I want to be really specific about who it is. It's not the commissioner, it's not the city planner. The people I sat across from were honest and direct about a genuinely painful situation. They're not the problem. The villain is structural. The Idaho legislature has given local governments almost no tools to dig out of this. Want a local option tax to generate your own revenue? You can only have one if you're a tourist town under 10,000 people. Post Falls doesn't qualify, Hayden doesn't qualify, and Coeur d'Alene definitely does not qualify. But what about other revenue tools, Trent? Well, I'm glad you asked. Anything passed at the state level flows to Boise first, and North Idaho sees pennies on the dollar. The official guidance from the state, as it was relayed to me by the officials in that room, be more efficient with what you have. That's it. You've got a jail at 143% capacity, a city 36 million in the red, and a sheriff contract that just jumped 73%. And the answer from Boise is, have you tried being more efficient? Cool. Thanks, Boise. So what does all this actually mean for you, the audience? Let's talk about it, because this is where the rubber meets the road, depending on where you sit. If you're a current homeowner in North Idaho thinking about selling, the honest answer is it depends on what you're doing next. If you're staying in North Idaho long term, hold. There is no meaningful structural case for prices dropping. Population in Kootenai County is projected to nearly double by 2045. Supply isn't catching up. The problems we just walked through don't get solved quickly or easily, unfortunately. Now, special situation, if you bought between 2020 and 2022, you might be in a different spot. Prices ran hard during that window. Some of those buyers are sitting on thinner equity than they expected. If that's you, the calculus is going to be different. Selling near a peak you bought close to is not the same conversation as selling after a decade of appreciation. Don't make that call based on a YouTube video. That is a sit-down conversation with someone who can actually look at your numbers and tell you what the right move is. If you're sitting on real equity and thinking about cashing out and moving somewhere cheaper, this might genuinely be your window. North Idaho prices are historically elevated. If your next move takes you somewhere with a lower cost of living, that equity gap works hard in your favor. That's not me pitching you, that's just the math of the situation. Your specifics matter, which is why I always say reach out. And if you're thinking about buying in North Idaho, here's my honest read. Waiting for a correction is not a strategy. It's hope, and hope is not a strategy. The structural problems we walk through today don't point toward a price drop. The county is growing. The fiscal tools to fix the underlying issues don't exist yet. The housing types that would bring prices down are disincentivized by the city's own numbers. And Boise isn't rushing to hand anyone a solution. If North Idaho makes sense for your life and your budget, the case for sitting on the sideline isn't supported by what I learned in that room. I'm not going to wrap this up with a bow and tell you everything is fine, because it's not entirely fine. The people running this county are doing the very best they can inside a framework that was never designed for what North Idaho has become. The growth is real, the strain is real, and the political will to fix the underlying structure, it's not there yet. The law hasn't changed, the math hasn't changed. The only thing that changes is how long you wait. And if you want to talk through what any of this means for your specific situation, buying, selling, or just figuring out if North Idaho still makes sense for you, reach out. The phone number and email address are right below, or scan this QR code and schedule a time to talk with me or my team. And if you want to know where the value still is in North Idaho right now, watch this video.